everybody's here, and we're going to get this meeting started. So call this meeting to order. And first thing, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Okay, now we will go over to Cathy for a roll call vote.
Just a roll call.
I don't know why I said vote.
It's okay. Vice Chair Branconi.
Present.
Committee Member Cotter.
Present.
Committee Member Domeno.
Present.
Youth Member Mansfield.
Present.
Committee Member Newman.
Present.
Chair Lobsinger.
Present.
Thank you. Let the record show that Committee Member Wyrick and Committee Member Brennan are not in attendance.
All right, next one is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
First, ask if there's changes and public comment, then the motion.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it was. Are there any changes? Does the committee have any changes for the agenda? Nope, doesn't look like it. Is there any public comment regarding the agenda? Mr. Zimmerman.
I just have a question. Can you please step up?
Yeah, can you just come up so we can hear you?
Yes. On 4.1, it says discussion on the current status of traffic hazard reporting forms received by Public Works Department. So my question is, I have some things I want to share, but I don't know. I want to be clear.
One second.
What-
This public comment is on the order, is approving the agenda.
Well, how can I
They're approving the agenda.
I guess I heard.
Okay,
if it
okay,
was-
go
okay.
ahead, go ahead.
Well, anyway, what I want to have clarified is, if I want to speak before it gets to the public comment, do I do it during public comment, or do I do it because we have a current traffic hazard reporting form on your log?
Is the item that you want to speak about in the agenda?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking for clarification.
It is noted as are all currently unclosed traffic hazard reporting forms on the log. However, the purpose of that agenda item is to review current traffic hazard reporting forms that have not previously been reviewed.
Got you. So something okay. So then,
I believe we did a full review of the traffic hazard reporting form Mr. Zimmerman is inquiring about at the May 2025 Traffic Safety Committee meeting. So we're not, and I'll defer to Public Works Director Mike Berger over here, but we were not, I don't believe we were planning on discussing older traffic hazard reporting forms tonight.
yeah. I would agree. Mike?
I agree, and so therefore the proper spot for this, because it's not on the agenda, would be during public comment after the approval of
Yeah.
the agenda.
Which
on
is
item
next.
number 2.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what we'll do. We'll approve the agenda, and then it goes to general public comment, and that would be the time that you can bring up.
Even if during the last meeting in May, we didn't get, well, basically, we've not received any conclusion or summary of what was discussed, and also any decisions that were made regarding our particular concerns.
I believe
So
that's
how can it be
4.2
closed?
tonight, correct? Is the ad hoc committee. So on 4.2 tonight, we're going to look to establish an ad hoc committee to put in motion the new document that was approved last meeting in order to cover all the open, needing attention forms, the traffic hazard reporting forms. So
Okay.
that should be covered in 4.2.
will I be able to comment at that time?
Yes. So we'll just assume 4.2. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, now, so no changes from us now. Is there a motion? I move to approve the agenda for tonight.
Second.
Vice Chair Branconi,
Aye.
Committee Member Coster,
Aye.
Committee Member Domeno,
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Aye.
Committee Member Newman,
Aye.
Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now we will move on to public comment. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. It is recommended that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Under state law, matters presented under this item cannot be discussed or acted upon by the Traffic Safety Committee at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to make comments at the time the item comes up for committee consideration. Upon being acknowledged by the chair, please step to the podium and speak into the microphone. Begin by stating and spelling your name. So now, is there any public comment on any item not appearing on tonight's agenda?
I don't have a copy of the agenda. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
They're right in the entryway.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the committee, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for a separate action. At this time, committee may decide to change the order of the agenda. Did I?
Sorry. No, I think that line was in there before. I'll take that out
okay,
next time. Sorry.
Wait a minute. Okay. Okay, is there any questions from the committee about the consent calendar? Okay. Seeing none, is there any public comment regarding the consent calendar? And seeing nothing, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I motion to approve the consent calendar.
I second.
Vice Chair Branconi,
Aye.
Committee Member Coster,
Aye.
Committee Member Domeno,
Aye.
Youth Member Mansfield,
Aye.
Committee Member Newman,
Aye.
Chair Lobsinger.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we're going to move on to the regular calendar. We'll start with item 4.1, and I will turn it over to Director Berger or Ashley.
Thank you, Chair Lobsinger. So today we are going to go over the 3 traffic hazard reporting forms that have been submitted since the May 6th, 2025 traffic safety meeting. At the May 6th, we reviewed all the previous ones. We had had a few come in, so now we have 3 outstanding ones. As part of activity that happened since the May 6th meeting, we are adding some comments from the technical memo regarding the West Main Street traffic hazard reporting form, specifically regarding the edgeline striping, into our upcoming capital improvement project, the West Main Street rehabilitation project, which is CIPT 11. And we can go over that in more detail later tonight. But let me just pull this one up. Okay. Okay. Do we have our little? Where's our? There we go. Okay. So we have our chart here. So the first one we're going to look over is 5th Street East between Denmark and Napa Road. The request is regarding speeding noted between Denmark and Napa Road. The posted speed limit is 30 miles per hour. been signed by one applicant, if the applicant is here. I wasn't sure if you want to go over all three of them in a row, or if you want to go over them one by one, discuss, go back.
Let's just do item by item because there's three, so this will be obviously item number one.
Yep.
So, do you have any more for this item?
Well, we have 3 traffic hazard reporting forms.
No, I was just talking about this specific one because otherwise I'll.
Yeah, no,
okay.
that's it.
All right. So with regards to the 5th Street East and East Napa Street item, are there any questions from the committee? I'm not seeing any questions from the committee, so then I will send it over to public comment regarding the speeding and line of sight for 5th Street East and East Napa. Sorry, 5th Street East, Denmark to Napa. Is there any public comment on this one? Okay, seeing none, bring it back to the committee. Anybody have anything? Okay.
I think if the concern is speeding, we can just see if we can work with Deputy Foils or Chief Cutting to try and do a little bit of enforcement there, see if they can verify that speeding is actually occurring, and kind of go from there. I think that, just generally speaking, looking at the handbook, a lot of these that come in involve speed. And I think the first litmus test in my mind would be us, communicating that with the sheriff's office or Sonoma PD, having them go out and, spend a little bit of time out there, see if they can verify that this actually exists, before we throw a bunch of resources and time at it, and see if if it does exist, if some enforcement could change behavior, it may save us potentially from having to do speed surveys and then getting into the handbook. So in my mind, that would be kind of like a pre-step to us getting involved with actually, putting the handbook stuff into motion. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I have a comment. I know this street very well. I use it a lot because I live up the hill and I go up and down, and I know that's pretty much a straightaway. And I drive people nuts because being on this committee, I go 30 miles an hour. It drives people nuts. My car too. So it's like people are trying to push me along. But yeah, I mean, the point is, yeah, there is speeding, and I've seen it, and a lot of times I end up slowing it down just because I'm driving slow, and they come up on me. So, and they even sometimes pass. Crazy.
One thing, Mark, you actually reminded me of it. Thank you. Deputy Foils, I know you're here. I spoke to Chief Cutting briefly, and I did notice in this agenda, or this, for tonight's meeting, there are some stop sign speeding issues, which I think, kind of like what Mark just said, it's going to start with a law enforcement thing. So I think what we'll do is once we get through the 3 items that we're going over, I'll give Deputy Foils a chance to just come up and talk a little bit, so that way we don't have to keep going, kicking back and forth. So just know, for anybody who's here regarding those issues, we will have Sonoma PD step up and kind of just give a quick oversight on it. But otherwise, like Mark said, not as a committee, we'll kind of defer to police for right now, and then see how that works out and move forward. If everybody seems to be okay with that. All right. Any other comments from the committee? Okay, then I will open this one up to, wait, I already asked for public comment, sorry. I'm going to close this item and move on to the next item.
And our next item is at West MacArthur and First Street West. So it's a complaint regarding stop sign compliance, and what the overall request is for additional enforcement. That's this one. Yep. And here we've got the traffic hazard reporting form here. Yeah.
Okay, any questions or comments from the committee on this specific item?
Yeah, I'll make a comment because, again, as a resident and all these areas I'm very familiar with and I drive through, and I'm a lot lately because I'm actually starting a business, so I'm going up and down 7th Street East, down to Broadway, all the way through MacArthur, all the way around. So I read all these before, and, you know, driving around, like I said, you know, go the speed limit. That's one thing. Enforcement will help. But, you know, a lot of these things here, in my opinion, you know, people, you know, all these people that are signing this, and me included, I mean, when you're driving on these streets, I mean, if nobody's around and you're seeing nobody, are you really coming to a full stop? Every one of you. Are you coming to a full stop? You know, and, you know, sometimes, look, I'm going to be admitted, I will, you know, there'll be nobody there. There might be somebody, I mean, there's nobody there. And some people get overreactive. I'm not saying that I'm right in what I'm doing. I'm just saying I'm human and everybody does it. And I'm just saying that, yeah, we have to have a little enforcement. We all have to be conscious. But when I read this, I just have to look at it like, you know, put the shoe on the other foot. I mean, am I the only one that's doing it? So that's sort of my opinion on the general thing.
Thank you. No, I agree with what
it's-
you're saying. I did notice that one of the, it was this item, was the signage that was, the Nathanson Creek sign was, that's, oh, I'm sorry. No, okay. Mark, can you run this meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll reserve my comment for the next one. Okay. So then for this item, is there public comment regarding this agenda item? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Terrence Thompson. I live near First Street. I'm here to share with you some of my experiences with it. And with the Councilman DeMemo, I agree with everything he said. But I think it's become okay with a lot of people that they just don't even slow down making a right turn where there's a stop sign. And I see this at First Street and also at 2nd Street. It's the same thing, people going westward on MacArthur, and they want to go up first or second. They don't even slow down. It's just simply, whatever speed it is to make the corner. Do they hit the brake? Maybe, if they don't want to two-wheel it around there. And, it isn't just when people don't think anybody's around. It's during rush hour is the worst. I mean, there are people walking dogs, people like myself going downtown to, I don't know, probably Hot Monk. And, excuse me, it is dangerous. And I was going to tell you about it, but it's just, as my friends, too much detail. I experienced a woman that had her dog run over. So, I encourage you to take a look at this. I don't know what the fix is. There are people that are in that business that are experts that can, tell you what the fix is. But there's a problem there. And it's, I hate to use an overused word today, it's a systemic problem. It is just everywhere. And then that is also coupled with speeding. That's an issue just about everywhere, but I want to comment that First Street West is a very narrow street, and there's parallel parking all the way between MacArthur and Andreu. And so, if you have to swerve to miss somebody or an animal, where are you going to go? There's no room. And so speed on that one, I think, is particularly difficult. It's not like many of the other streets. So those are my comments, and I end with a request that you pick this up. And it's yes, it's a traffic complaint, but I know you have a lot of them. But I think it's a very important one. There's a lot of public safety involved. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there any other public comment regarding this particular item? If not, I'll kick it back to the committee, if anybody on the committee has anything.
Yeah, I'll just concur that, agreeing that there are times when it's certainly not appropriate, and there are people that are just taking advantage, are doing it just absolutely wrong, and that's where the enforcement would have to come in. I know we have some little things that we can probably look at that are fixes, but, yeah, I mean, so I'm agreeing with you on that point, totally. And so all I do is, like I said, I drive around that area, and I just go the speed limit, and it drives people nuts that, the majority of them. So that's all we could do, so, all right.
All right. Anybody else from the committee? See nothing, we'll move on to the third item on this agenda item.
So our third and final one is stop sign compliance and site visibility at 2nd Street East and East MacArthur. This traffic hazard reporting form can add a few additional notes, such as suggesting a freestanding pedestrian crossing stand in the crosswalk, cutting back foliage, possibly blocking the stop sign, additional enforcement, installation of a flashing stop sign, like what is currently installed at West MacArthur and 5th Street West.
All right. Now regarding this, any questions from the committee?
No questions, but wait till it comes back from public comment, because I believe that there's somebody here who's going to comment on it, and then we can discuss it.
I have a question. When was this submitted, this form? Oh, okay. Have the trees been trimmed since then? I mean, has that been looked at or checked out?
We haven't looked into trimming the trees yet, but that's definitely something we can do.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts, but I think I'll just go to public comment first, and then we can discuss it later. And then also following, when we're done with public comment on this item, before we discuss, I'd like to bring Deputy Foils up to just talk about the traffic kind of plan in general, if you're okay with that. So I will now open up this item for public comment, the 2nd MacArthur.
Hi, my name's Scott Pace, S-C-O-T-T-P-A-C-E, and I reside on Larkin Drive. So anyway, this obviously came to my attention because my wife and I walk our dog there every single day. And first time we had an issue was first week of June. I think it was June 6th, if I remember correctly. And I always check traffic before I step out into a crosswalk. And on that day, I did that as well. And I thought, I don't know about this truck coming in. It was a work truck, obviously. And the gentleman just proceeded to drive through the crosswalk at about 30 miles an hour, I would estimate, without even slowing down. So that was a day when I was very happy that I paid close attention to traffic before stepping out. And then I guess about a week later, my wife and I were crossing the same intersection. It's the end of the Nathanson Creek bike path. Mm-hmm. And we were, I'm sorry? Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. So my wife and I were heading south on 2nd Street East, crossing that intersection. I checked both ways before we stepped out, and a gentleman going west on East MacArthur proceeded through the intersection without slowing down, and I'm not kidding you, he missed us probably by about a foot. And he was right behind us. I yelled at him. He didn't even pay any attention, just kept on going. And I think my impression was, because I spent 35 years in state, federal, and county law enforcement, my impression was people are so accustomed to not slowing down there because most often they're not seeing anybody, that it's muscle memory, and they just keep on going. They don't even bother slowing down. Some people will slow down. That's, at least they're looking. You know they're looking. But these people obviously did not pay any attention at all. And my impression was at some point, somebody's going to get nailed at that intersection, and I certainly don't want to see that happen. So, you know, after looking at the intersection, you know, I did notice that Nasonton Creek sign on East MacArthur was partially blocking the stop sign, so it shouldn't have been placed right there, either further back or something, or maybe near the intersection, but not in front of the stop sign. And then that stop sign would be on the north side of East MacArthur, is pretty well shaded. And I notice a lot of them around town are that way, but it probably could use some attention because it is a dark area there. And if somebody's not familiar with that intersection, they may or may not really notice it. And that's why I was suggesting if there's any way to trim those things back, put one of the freestanding signs to yield to pedestrian traffic might be of some benefit. And, you know, if there's, and LED light indicators might get a little bit of attention to people too. So, I don't know. Any questions at all? I have 9 seconds left. Sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks.
Is there any other public comment on this item? I invite Deputy Foils up to just kind of talk about overall traffic enforcement in the city.
Hello, I'm Deputy Ryan Foils. For those that don't know me, I'm assigned to the traffic division as one of the motorcycle officers, and I'm also a traffic investigator for the city of Sonoma. As far as the 3 items that were mentioned, been in contact with Chief Cutting, and as far as the stop sign enforcement goes, as you guys all know, it's hard for us as law enforcement to gauge on how many people are stopping. Obviously, when I'm sitting there with a marked police motorcycle, everybody comes to a complete stop. It's very seldom that people full on run it with me sitting there. With that being said, that Chief Cutting has also sat there in an unmarked vehicle before, just to kind of tally on how many people are fully running the stop sign. And like the council member said, to be honest, we could probably write tickets to almost every single person that goes up to that stop sign, because per the vehicle code, they don't come to a full and complete stop. It's how much do we want to write tickets to people that are just slightly going through, like the council member said. And it's not, from my experience sitting there, from Chief Cutting and stuff, it's not as egregious as what everyday citizens, what you guys probably have seen, because like I said, people aren't going to do that when there's a fully marked police motorcycle there. So we will continue to address the stop sign violations and stuff throughout the city with as much enforcement as we can. As far as the speeding and stuff, now that the summer is coming to an end and school's getting ready to start back, naturally speeding enforcement and stuff becomes way higher on the priority with more pedestrians and children walking around and stuff like that. So you're going to see us out there with radar and LiDAR guns a lot more. With the school getting ready to start up and stuff. As far as the complaints on 5th Street East and stuff, I will go out there personally and run more LiDAR and radar as much as I can, with the time consuming with everything else. Anything particular questions that you guys have, or anybody? I don't know if I can open it up. Any questions that they have for me? That I can try to answer for you guys right now?
No, I mean, I don't have any questions. Jay?
No, I just want to thank you for your efforts and your work out there. I know you guys get a lot of complaints all the time, and we don't thank you guys a lot. I just wanted to thank you for being out there doing your job.
Absolutely.
I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
What can we, as the public, do to help your department have other funds so that you could get more people out there?
Ma'am, can you come up and just come up to the microphone so we can capture all that, please?
Hi, my name is Sandy Zimmerman, and I live on West Spain Street. I just wanted to know what we, as members of the public who see this problem every day, you know, and I think a lot of it is monkey see, monkey do. If nobody's stopping fully at the stop sign, they see everybody else not doing it. If people are speeding, you know, regardless of the condition of the road, even if their vehicle is getting damaged in the process, they're speeding. So I want to know what we can do, because obviously you're understaffed. Yeah, I see you have the will and the desire and all of that, but you're understaffed. So what can we do as a community to get more funds, to get more people out there like you, rather than having us running out, you know, shaking our fists saying, why didn't you stop at that stop sign? That's my question. Is there anything we can do?
That is way above my pay grade. And that would be something that you would actually have to talk to the city council about, because it all comes down to contract negotiation and stuff with the sheriff's office. So the best answer I can give you is to talk to your actual council members, because they can adjust the numbers of the contract of how many deputies they want assigned to Sonoma Police Department.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
You are still assigned a beat, right? So you're essentially a day shift unit, or are you an extra unit?
No, I'm twofold. So I'm the traffic investigator and traffic enforcement, as well as a normal beat deputy as well. So I handle normal calls for service too. I'm not solely a traffic enforcement officer like other departments have full. Santa Rosa PD, perfect example. They have full-time traffic units where they have 6 motor officers. That's all they do is traffic enforcement, and the only calls they get dispatched to are traffic collisions. They're not handling regular calls for service. I still have to handle regular calls for service on top of traffic.
So that's actually something that, you know, I have kind of noticed as one of the issues is when folks who are assigned for traffic enforcement, they have to take a beat. That means they have to handle calls for service. And that means if there's, you know, some other crime, whether it be a theft or a battery or something of that nature, that's taking him away from his time doing traffic enforcement, where he has to go out, take that report, and then physically write the report and all the other things that go along with it. Earlier, years ago, I think the contract was originally established in 2004 with City of Sonoma and the Sheriff's Office. There was a dedicated motor officer. So back then you had 2 day shift units, and you had, in addition to that, a motor officer or a traffic officer. But obviously, like Deputy Foyles alluded to, through contract negotiations and things like that, the city has scaled that back. So that is something that I see as a priority in my mind when I think about this committee and the safety of our community, that trying to get that back would definitely be of some value for our community.
Yeah, and I think as a community, correct me if I'm wrong, because City of Sonoma Police is is contracted with the sheriffs, that there is a possibility. I know budget's obviously a huge issue, and obviously staffing, but I believe there's possibilities we can bring in deputies from other agencies like Windsor to maybe do like an overtime traffic enforcement op or something like that. My understanding is that is a possibility, but that as a community you would need to talk to the county, you know, the sheriff's department about, you know, freeing up some funds or getting some grants to say, hey, let's bring in 3 deputies off, you know, who are off, and bring them in for some overtime to do traffic enforcement in the city.
To speak on that, so there used to be, and it was funded through the Office of Traffic Safety, they called it the SITE program, where pretty much all the motor officers throughout the entire county, so that was Petaluma PD, Roanoke Park Police Department, Santa Rosa Police Department, California Highway Patrol, Sonoma and Windsor as well, they would pick a city every other month, and so you would get 35 motor officers in that city for 5 to 6 hours of doing nothing but traffic enforcement and pretty much hammering the traffic enforcement. That's something that could be looked into as far as trying to get that grant through the Office of Traffic Safety. If they're still providing that grant, I don't have the answer for you for that, but that was something that I know the city of Sonoma. I used to be a motor officer with the city of Roanoke Park, and I know I've come out to Sonoma as part of that site program before, years ago, and so that's something that could be looked into as well.
Perfect, thank you. Sir, did you have something else? Please come on up.
Again, my name is Terrence Thompson. And it's, I think, a question for the officer. You expressed frustration of sitting on a motorcycle and kind of keep score of who runs the stop sign. I understand that. Has the police department looked into technology today? I mean, there's some amazing technology. Technology can be so small to post a camera somewhere strategically to monitor a corner to see how people go. A driver wouldn't see it. It's not a cop car. It's none of that business. It's just getting the data. And I think, I hope we're doing something like that, investigating the technology available. Thank you.
I'll speak on that real quick. So there is the technology out there, as you guys have probably seen in other cities, red light cameras. There are stop sign cameras and everything. The thing that comes along with that is the way the California Vehicle Code is and the laws are in the state of California, that it takes a dedicated officer that has to review all that footage. That's their full-time job. They have to review all that footage to make sure that that vehicle did in fact not stop prior to the limit line. It did in fact actually run it and everything like that. And to be honest, a lot of that, there's a lot of lawsuits that come with that too, of people suing the cities or fighting those because they're like, nope, the vehicle code states that I have to stop at the limit line, or, you know, no portion of my vehicle can be past the limit line or whatever. And it's like, from the angle of the camera, my vehicle is not past the limit line. And it's one of those where it's like, okay, yep, that one's dismissed. And so there is great technology out there. It's just, unfortunately, it's not to that point yet where the laws of the state of California have caught up with it. And like I said, it does take a dedicated officer that has to. That's why a lot of cities have gotten rid of their red light cameras and stuff, because they're paying an officer to sit there and look at footage all day long, because you have to, per the law, you have to have a dedicated officer that reviews every one of those.
My comment
Yes, sir.
is not addressed toward enforcing, but measuring, getting the statistics. You wouldn't ticket a car for going through the stop sign. You would just say, oh, there were 100 cars that went through today and 70 of them didn't stop. And that's I heard some comment here where the police chief sat in the car all day trying to do this. There's got to be a technology to do that so you can measure the problem.
I can safely say, from the chief sitting there and me sitting there, I would say out of all the cars that we've tallied up, I would say it would be easy to safely say 95% of the vehicles do not stop per the California Vehicle Code of what they declare a stopping is. But it comes down to one of those where it's like, if somebody slightly rolls it, you know, they come to a stop, but their wheels don't come to a full, complete stop of motion like the vehicle code states, am I gonna write them a ticket when their vehicle came to a stop, but the tires still moved slightly? It's one of those things. And we've always said in the traffic world, stop signs, it's an acronym for slightly tap on pedal. That's what people call it as. So.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I don't want to get too far off track. I think if you have any follow-up on enforcement, let's follow up with the police department, sheriff's department, Chief Cutting, but we got to stay on task here. So, Deputy Foils, thank you for your time. Mr. Zimmerman, if this is about if this is about law enforcement, we're gonna stop it right now because we're kind of getting out of our.
I'd like to get his opinion on
No.
I can talk to you offline.
We can speak. We can speak after.
Yeah, I can speak after the meeting. I'll be here the whole meeting.
I just don't want this to turn into a traffic enforcement issue, because our committee, that's not our, even though we have 2 cops on this committee, it's not our place to speak on behalf of the police department. I just wanted to give the department an opportunity to generally speak to how the enforcement works and how it can work, given the items on tonight's agenda. So with that being said, I'm going to bring it back to the committee, this specific item, if there are any comments. I know I have a couple, but I will open up to anybody else regarding this agenda item.
Yeah, just a few thoughts, and I think it's worth, checking with Public Works as far as the managing that vegetation. I would imagine that's probably the homeowner's vegetation. I don't know if you guys try to put that on the homeowner as far as maintaining that over the sidewalk, but definitely worth, if the city is going out and doing that, it sounds like, every so often, whether it be a couple times a year or whatever, just see if it's worth changing the frequency of that to help with the visibility. Obviously, from the photos, you can see that and those of us who travel that area, we know there's a lot of large oaks there that do provide quite a bit of shade there. So I think that the idea of the stop signs like were put in at 5th and Andrix and 5th and MacArthur, just to increase visibility in that shaded area, might not be a bad idea if there's any more of those available. And then maybe just having Public Works go and look and see if relocating that Nathanson Creek Trail sign is worthwhile. I know, unfortunately, I didn't get the opportunity. I wanted to go kind of out there and see with the angle of where actually the driver would be, at what point that does block the stop sign, because obviously when you're on the shoulder where this photo's taken, the angle is going to be different. So I don't know if it's as significant of an obstruction from a driver's vantage point as it is where this photo's taken. But those are just my kind of comments and thoughts on it.
Just a general question, I guess, about the use of, I guess they're called paddles that go in the middle of the crosswalk. And I personally find those to be great benefit. And I know traveling through cities like Cathy and Cloverdale, small communities, you see those paddles everywhere on the crosswalks. And we have them now out, around the plaza on the new bold outs. And I don't know, is there any kind of thinking about that? To me, they really help having that in place visibly for a car to see when you, and so I just like to know, is there general thinking about using those or not using those?
Turn it over.
Yeah, so with regard to those paddles, those are actually distinctively for uncontrolled intersections and crossings. So where we put those in the roadway, they actually say yield to pedestrian. But to install that at a stop sign would be very different, right? So those aren't in the MUTCD, our manual and uniform traffic control devices, for installations at stop controls. The stop sign is the control device. The pedestrian warning signs are only available to be utilized at crossings that are not stop controlled.
So that's what I meant. So when there isn't a stop sign, there's just a crosswalk. What's preventing us from putting those wherever we can put those?
I thought specifically the question was, could we be using those at the stop sign? And the answer to that is no. But at any other location, really depending upon your level, putting them everywhere people would become blind to them at some point, right? I mean, that's the thing, is over signage, and so putting them everywhere is not really an appropriate traffic measure. We look at those to be used, not sparingly, but we try and use those more.
I guess that's where I disagree, because for me, seeing them really is a helpful reminder. And I guess to the gentleman's point that it's this muscle memory, you're just driving along, you see a crosswalk, but no one's in it. And you're just going, but that signage there tells me pay attention and take a look. There's someone maybe stepping out into the curve. So personally, I find it helpful, but that's maybe just me.
Yeah, I think hopefully the stop sign that's at the intersection would be enough warning to pay attention. And it sounds like that's not, being effective, because this particular reporting form is talking about a controlled intersection where a stop sign's present. So, yeah, and I definitely would agree to have them everywhere, not only financially doesn't make sense, but also, like everything else, you see it all the time, you stop paying attention to it. So I think they're much more effective when they're placed strategically at problem areas.
On that note, kind of regarding town and this specific issue, well, actually, I have one question first, and that's about the Nathanson Creek sign. Is that able to be moved? Is that going to be a pain for Public Works?
It's possible that can be moved, but like was just discussed a couple of minutes ago, I just want to go out there and put eyeballs on it.
Yeah.
Because this picture was taken basically at the flow line of the curb, where somebody's going to be walking on the curb.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a car, one thing for sure is at this time of day, the sign is in the dark by the sycamore tree. So we could look into taking some foliage back and having people trim their bushes and potentially getting a contractor in there to trim the tree back. And that would be my first inkling of action, to make sure that the foliage isn't creating visibility issues. And then where's the driver's eye with respect to the Nathanson Creek sign? Yeah. And we'll go out there and we'll take a look at that. And then also just, one of the other notes I took was that we can do a speed survey on Fifth Street East in between, somewhere near Saunders. That's not a problem. To my knowledge, we haven't done one since I've been working with Traffic Safety Committee recently. So we'll just go out there and do one. I'll find out from ops if we've done one before, and if we have one, it got done, and try to put it in the same location, if that makes sense. And then we have a relative comparison that we could use. But that's not a problem to go out there and do a speed survey. We'll get it done within the next couple of weeks.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do it. My follow-up comments for this, it's for this committee to consider. We're putting together, and we have, let's call it what it is. Ashley put together the traffic calming handbook that we're essentially trying to do. And my thought, what makes this intersection different is that you have a path, a walking path, or a walking trail. That's different than other four-way intersections. So my thought is maybe around town, Vallejo's home, West MacArthur, where would essentially be 3rd Street West, right along Nathanson Creek. The other side of not Nathanson Creek, the other side of MacArthur, where the new walking trail is, to consider maybe if the intersection is part of a larger walking trail, biking trail, whatever, then maybe it is something to consider putting up. Not that you can put the yield signs up, but maybe a flashing something, or maybe some more bright signage. Because I think to do it, I think you're right. I think to do it everywhere, you kind of start to go blind, but you do need to find them somewhere. So I think kind of like we need to establish some criteria. We don't want to just start haphazardly throwing things up or just taking things one at a time, but maybe we kind of focus on those areas in town where there's a walking trail, bike trail, whatever, and those would be the areas that could get brighter signs or potentially a flashing beacon. And that way we're kind of focusing on specific issues while having some rules around it. So that was just my thought as a committee moving forward, that maybe that's part of our traffic toolbox.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on that a little bit, one of the items that we're going to talk about tonight is an update on CIP, specifically the Go Sonoma project, which is talking about putting RRFBs. And when you say flashing beacon, you mean RRFBs like we've installed at 3rd and Spain and along Broadway. That's what you're referring to?
No. I'm not referring to anything specific, whether it's lights on the roadway, like the RFBs, or just brighter signage of pedestrian crossing.
Sure.
I know there's the ones that just have the flashing lights in the sign themselves. I mean, there's obviously different layers to it, and what we land on, I would have to consider it more, but.
Yeah, and just re-emphasizing what you're stating is that let's look at the crossings that we have part of the Go Sonoma project includes upgrades of all of the crossings for the bike trail, albeit some of them are on potentially a bid alternate, which basically means that the project's funded. We could put it in. If not, we'll have to look at doing it at a later date. We're also looking at creative ways to stretch our dollars on those crossings. So we're already in that direction. And I think one of the things for Traffic Safety Committee is to, you guys are doing an excellent job tonight of listening and having good discussion. And what that's going to promote is more discussion. And so getting people to come to you with their problem intersections for you to evaluate, as far as I'm concerned, that's the key here. Getting the citizens engaged so that they're coming to you with their problems, which they're doing tonight, and we're having good discussion on it, and then identifying those different intersections and prioritizing how we go about attacking the problem, utilizing the brand new traffic calming measures handbook that's on our website.
Yeah, all right. Sounds like we're heading in the right direction. For this item, or for this current item 4.1, is there anything else from the committee?
Just want to follow up with Director Berger about my comments before. The flashing stop signs, is that a possibility for this intersection as well? And I know Chief Cutting was doing a little before and after, non-scientific look at that. Did he ever link back in with you on whether he thought that those flashing stop signs were effective?
Yeah, he reported at a Traffic Safety Committee meeting, and it was an unofficial summary that he did, that he didn't think that they were effective. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think the problem is that people don't know the stop sign's there. Yeah. And I mean, having grown up here, I have trouble with that stop sign, and I have trouble with the one on MacArthur east of 5th Street. Those are not in my data bank. And those are the two streets that I drive on, that are relatively collector street. And all the stop signs that we put in over on the east side, north of Chase Street, there's a lot of them that got put in there. You're going so slow there already that the stop sign can't catch you by surprise. But on MacArthur, having driven that road for 15, 20 years without a stop sign being there, and then all of a sudden it's there, you just got to be on your toes if you're a local and you're busy driving that, and you spend time driving that stretch. And the people that hit their brakes and then go through at 5, 10, maybe 15, they know the stop sign's there. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the amount of the day that area is shaded, would that present a problem for that solar panel anyhow?
It's possible, but I think we just try to lighten it up and see how effective we are, because just even in this picture, you can see that the stop sign on the other side of the street on MacArthur is fully in the sun. And that makes sense just based on the position of where the sun is. The intersection, there's not going to be any trees growing in the middle of the street. But still, we could look at making these stop signs more visible throughout the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like a good, easy, low-cost step one of trying to see if we can get some resolution to the issues, increase the visibility, and that coupled with maybe a little bit of increased enforcement, and hopefully we'll see some positive change.
All right, thank you. With that, we will close out item 4.1 and move on to 4.2, which is the forming an ad hoc committee to review the outstanding and previously received traffic hazard reporting forms. And I will turn it back over to Ashley.
Thank you. So the purpose of this agenda item is to possibly, if committee members want to go in this direction, form an ad hoc committee to close out the remaining traffic hazard reporting forms that we have not closed out yet. All of these have been pending the creation of our advanced traffic calming measures. That was the point of our ad hoc. We have our neighborhood traffic calming plan that was adopted by traffic safety. And so the idea would be that the ad hoc would meet and formally close out these traffic hazard reporting forms. As you meet as an ad hoc, the ad hoc would come back, present their findings and their suggestions, and then those suggestions and possible implementation would move forward. And so that's kind of the general idea.
Just a quick question on the summary form that is on the previous item. The page 2 there without the highlights, that's all been reviewed, correct?
Yes, those are all closed out traffic hazard reporting forms. We have closed them out either because the committee found that there was not, if it, for example, it was signed by one person, or found that it didn't have merit because additional studies were done, or if Public Works had taken action like the stop sign at Presswood, or Blue Wing, the red curb at First Street West, those kinds of actions were taken, then those forms were closed out.
Okay, so that's why those are left off of this item.
Yes.
This item is only essentially that first page of the summary.
It's everything that is archived. So the very first item, 4.1, everything that's highlighted in yellow are old traffic hazard reporting forms that have yet to be closed out. They were pending the creation of our advanced traffic calming measures. The blue ones were the ones that had been received since the previous ones. And the second page, which I include, gives us a running tally of traffic hazard reporting forms that you as a committee have closed out.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else from the committee regarding the?
It's really hard to see that there because of your question.
Is there anybody else in the committee regarding the ad hoc? And if not, I will turn this one over to public comment on the creation of an ad hoc committee to close out older items and outstanding items.
Again, I start out of place to come. I can't see that, so I don't even know if our THR is up there and where it is. Ours was filed in May of 2022.
Yours is on there.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if this is the time to speak or not.
Yes, this is where we said you could speak for your item.
Thank you. I brought some handouts. Anybody in the audience, I think I have enough here to pass them out. What I'm handing out, I'm sorry. What I'm handing out is are from the Sonoma City General Plan Update, and in particular, traffic circulation. And so what we have here are recommended policies that the city is working on, along with other elements. They're having workshops now. I wish these people had stayed. Maybe they could have attended, because that's another way maybe to approach some leverage with the city. They're also looking at the noise element. They're also looking at climate action issues, greenhouse gases, etc. For instance, the information that's come up says that basically 65% or so of traffic noise or excessive noise in the city is attributed to motor vehicles. About the same percentage of goes toward greenhouse gas emissions. Same thing, motor vehicles. And so what you'll see here are some of the proposed recommendations to try to deal with that on a city level. And so that's an important process because that update will be probably in place for 10 or 20, 15 years. The last one, I think, was done around 2000. So consequently, I think it's quite important. I think it directly relates to our West Spain Street traffic safety report and updates that we started in May of 2022. I should bring them up here to me.
Mr. Zimmerman, your time is up. I'll give you one more minute, but we need to limit public comment. Yes.
You can't do that.
Yes, I can, actually.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. I don't
Are
want to
you,
go.
are you going to ask the sheriff to pull me out of here or what?
No, I'm not going to ask them, but we need to
Okay,
keep the,
well,
the
listen,
item moving.
Listen. We have.
Yes, you can concede your 3 minutes. So you now have three minutes, Mr. Zimmerman.
Okay. Basically, I have two technical memorandums that were written by Mr. Penry. The partial decision that I heard at the last Traffic Safety Committee was based on the information and a meeting with the test group that came to the decision of the recommendation to you guys to turn down the traffic circle. That's small. Now, whether that's a final decision or not, I don't know. I also have a previous technical memorandum that was done by Mr. Penry that influenced the RRFBs that were done in relation to the request from St. Francis School. Now, our request preceded this by 2 years, the decision on St. Francis School. I don't think we got a fair look because what was happening is it was a fast and, what was the term that was used in this, fast and something response, and everybody's happy with the RRFBs. Personally, I live on that street, I walk on it, and almost no one uses the buttons to press. That's the only way that the traffic is slowed down or stopped, is when the buttons are used, and they're not being used. So number one, when the buttons aren't being used and there's no one crossing, because a lot of people go by, they don't push the button and they cross. When there's no one there to cross a pedestrian, things continue as usual. In other words, we have speeding, loud noise, vehicle emissions on West Spain Street, and it's not getting any better. If you're there after the Tuesday night markets, if you're there on a Friday night, anytime, I can't even sit in my den and listen and hear my television. It's so darn loud sometimes, and it's fast and it's dangerous. So I don't think that we got a fair assessment, because the test committee in the past, when I sat on this committee for many years, the test committee could get something from a citizen group or whatever, look at it, it's simple, they can take care of it, boom. They don't have to bring it to this committee. And yet this was done twice in our case, and we did not get a full hearing until May of this year. And I think there's a lot of bias, and I think there's a lot of inaccuracy in the description of why the traffic circle was turned down. The red curves, for instance, are reported to be there. They're not there. Red curves on the side streets, reported to be there. They're not there. There are a lot of inaccuracies here, and that's why I'm saying this was not a fair look at our situation. And we spent 3 years into this, okay? And it's not necessarily that we didn't get everything we want, so we're mad and we're going home with our football. It's basically the process. The test committee or group doesn't have to bring you things. It decides.
Okay, Mr.
And
Zimmerman, I have to cut you off here.
when
We gave you an extra minute on top of the 3 minutes. We need to stop.
When we were
We need
informed
you
that
to
the,
stop, Mr. Zimmerman,
in
please.
May, when
I'm
we were
asking
informed
you.
of the decision,
I'm
that was
asking
the
you to
first
We
inkling
understand.
of the decision. And that is not fair.
I know. Okay, I guess I got to maybe call a recess or something. I don't know. We gave you as much time as we could.
You know what?
Mr. Zimmerman.
You're supposed to advise the city. The city works for us, okay?
We are very aware of our role. I'm just saying that you cannot comment. You've taken up almost 8 minutes now on this, and it's supposed to be 3. We gave you a little extra time. We ceded some time. We're asking to move this meeting forward.
You're gonna close our report then with this ad hoc committee. Is that what you're gonna do?
Maybe this will summarize it. I know Spain Street is a major issue, and I know the city's very concerned about it. We're concerned about it. Public Works is concerned about it. And I know you've been asking for many, many years. We understand the frustration. So the issue of Spain Street is not being closed out. What we're saying is this specific part of public comment needs to be closed out so we can move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, fine. Then I wanna know if I can, we, us, whoever, can participate in that ad hoc process.
That's something I'm gonna have to go over with Public Works. Because the ad hoc process is regarding all sorts of city issues, and it's about the process of closing out, not about the one specific item.
It's the process
And
of
just
closing
to
out
clarify, Mr.
specific
Zimmerman,
items.
hold on.
Yes.
When we're saying close out, what is being discussed with this agenda item is the different traffic hazard reporting forms being applied with that new document to see what is most appropriate. So it's not saying that, okay, it's going to get repaved and it's done. They may say XYZ traffic calming measure appears to be most appropriate for Spain Street, and we're going to recommend that this traffic calming measure gets applied. That's what the purpose of the ad hoc is. It's not to say make these people go away or anything like that. And I think that maybe just a little bit of the language that's being used got misinterpreted. So what we're saying is, exactly to your point, you don't want this to be dragged out any further, and you don't want to have to wait any longer for some resolution. The purpose of this ad hoc will be to get resolution on these items.
I thank you for that. I'm just saying that there's information in these mechanical memorandums that's not accurate. Okay?
Okay, and you handed us that information and we have it to review, but we need to move on. We have to move on from this item.
Well,
Unless there's someone else who has public comment on this agenda item, we are going to move on. Okay, now for the ad hoc committee, is there further discussion by the committee about the ad hoc committee?
I think that coming up with an ad hoc committee to work on these that have already been accepted is the best use of time. That way we don't have to go through each of these individually at a meeting, and we can accomplish that through the ad hoc. And then moving forward, as we get new ones, then we can address those at the meetings and maybe not have to have the ad hoc do it unless it's going to be a super in-depth or involved process.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one, that the more efficient we can get this, the better. So I'm all for an ad hoc committee just taking care of these items, and that way we don't have to worry about it at every meeting. So with that being said, anybody else have any thoughts or comments? If not, we would ask if somebody wants to, how many do we need for the ad hoc? 4?
Up to 4,
Up
no
to
more than 4.
Okay. Well, we can nominate Shelby because she's not here. Does anybody have anybody on the committee interested in working on this?
And
we would
Vinny-
have to motion
Vinny
this,
could be a
correct?
part of it.
Oh,
And
great.
would not count towards the amount of people, but he could be there
Okay.
if he chose to.
How often would ad hoc meet?
They tend to be based on availability of everyone who is appointed to the ad hoc. So we would work with Cathy here, who would schedule it around everyone's availability, and then the number of meetings would just depend on how much we can get done in the time allotted.
I'll join.
All right, we got two.
So we have Jay and Mark Domeno.
I don't want to.
That's just not right.
I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say that's what happens. No, you know what? I'll unless.
I'll do it if you need more bodies.
Yeah, I think 3, and we can.
This is going to be a pretty short one. It's not going to
Yeah.
be like that traffic calming ad hoc that you guys were appointed to
Yeah.
that met, a number of times and was a year-long project. This should be relatively short in terms of, I would imagine 2 at most to get all of these at least to the next step,
Yeah.
which is kind of the goal, to be
Yeah.
able to report out monthly, have a resolution, or not monthly, but quarterly, have a resolution or project that we're working on related to one of these.
Yeah, I think the 3 of you are very responsible young men and can handle the task. Yeah. Yeah. Plus. Okay, so do we need a motion to form the ad hoc committee? I don't think we can just close it, right?
No, we're good.
Okay, great. Then we will close that. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. And let's move on to item 4.3, which is the, well, I'm just gonna turn it over to Ashley. Ashley knows. I don't wanna read all
Thank you,
that.
Chair Lopsinger. So this presentation, just so you guys know, has already been, took this to council on July 16th. That's why the date is outdated. My apologies for not updating that. But this is a project or a presentation to go over priority projects that Public Works has identified for grant funding opportunities for the city of Sonoma. It's the Sonoma County Transit and Climate Authority's funding program cycle 2. Funding opportunity is open, and so this is going to review the projects that we have proposed. So we're going to go over what the funding program is, funding availability, scoring criteria, the goals of this meeting, which is primarily to get some feedback so that we can incorporate that into the grant applications, which are due on Friday. Going over the priority projects, and then again, getting some feedback. So just overall, this is the second round of funding that's being administered through Sonoma County Transit and Climate Authorities. There's 1 application per project, and they're evaluated for a bunch of different local funding sources. The first SCTCA Cycle 1 program funding, the city of Sonoma was awarded $1.6 million for the Go Sonoma Citywide Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvements, CIPT6. This is an overview of the funding availability that is open for the second cycle of funding. These are projects that are going to go out to construction, or going to be completed, or whatever we are applying for, whether that be planning, right-of-way, construction, what have you. Projects that you're going to be completing through fiscal year 2030. And then these are the different funding sources that are spelled out, because they use a decent amount of acronyms here. The Go Sonoma is funded through our Go Sonoma tax measure. This is a scoring criteria that Sonoma County Transit and Climate Authorities created for the application. And this is how they will score each project based on this rubric. So each project has a total available points of 200, and this is how they break it down. Ultimately, the goal is we're looking for feedback on the projects. We have 7 projects that we will be presenting today, and we're looking for feedback on the top 5, which we've already identified. So the first one is road rehabilitation on First Street West from the plaza to the police department. We ranked this number 1 due to ability to construct, demonstrated city need, benefit to bike pedestrian users, and competitive against our scoring criteria. This identifies that our pavement condition index on the stretch of road is about 35, 65 to 70 is typically good, so it's pretty under par. We did get some feedback at Sonoma, the city council, which was to include some bicycle facilities. And so we have increased this total project to about $4 million to include the possibility of a multi-use path, and that would also address the drainage issue on First Street West. The drainage ditch and the path would be right where that bicycle Xing sign is. So this is a picture of the current conditions and a map of the proposed pavement to be redone. Go back. Okay. And then our second project is road rehabilitation projects at Andrick Street from 2nd Street West to Broadway, Verano from 5th Street West to city limits, 7th Street from West Main to West Napa. We ranked this number 2 due to ability to construct, demonstrated city need, benefit to bike pedestrian users, and competitive scoring. The pavement condition index on all 3 of these roads are relatively low, and the estimated project cost is estimated to be about $3 million, looking for a grant request of $2.5 million. We would incorporate bicycle facilities on all 3 of these roads. I don't believe any of them currently have bike lanes, and so we would look at adding those as part of this project. And this is an area or map view of the stretch of road that we're looking at redoing, and pictures of current conditions. Project number 3, addressing Broadway sidewalk displacements and streetscape improvements. Ranked this number 3 due to ability to construct, city need, benefit to bike pedestrian users. There are significant sidewalk displacements along both sides of Broadway. Addressing these and enhancing the streetscape will improve the experience of all users. We're recommending this to move forward for a planning phase allocation. So the other 2 were construction phase requests, because that's going to be where the bulk of the funding is going to be needed. The plan for this is to request a planning grant, and then, if another grant opportunity comes up, we would have the plan specifications, estimates, and we could submit those for a stronger construction allocation application. So the estimated project cost is about $6 million, but the grant request would be for about $500,000. These are pictures of existing conditions of the sidewalk displacements. And then project number 4, sidewalk gap closures. These are specifically for Tier 1 sidewalk gap closures. These were identified in the city's active transportation plan and then prioritized by tiers 1 through 3, so high, medium, low priority. We're recommending this to move forward for a planning phase allocation. Estimated project cost $6 million, grant request $500,000. That estimate is high, so what we understand is that there are some pretty significant right-of-way issues with where the Tier 1 sidewalk gaps are, and so we're estimating that that project could be a little bit more expensive. This is a picture of the sidewalk gaps circled. This is right out of our active transportation plan. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. Sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through.
Could you just go back to that picture just for a minute? I just want to. Okay, I'm good. I think we can keep moving.
This transportation is also, or not transportation, this PowerPoint is also in your agenda packet. So then project number 5 is road rehabilitation and bike boulevard installation on Newcomb Street. This is in our adopted active transportation plan that addresses a bike boulevard on Newcomb Street as a Tier 1 priority project. The PCI for the majority of Newcomb Street is 8, so it's incredibly low and probably needs a decent amount of TLC. So the estimated project cost is about $3.5 million. And the grant request would be for about $3 million. This would also be for a construction phase allocation. This, to clarify, is not a picture of what we're going to do. This is just a picture of what a bike, when you Google bike boulevard, this is just the most basic level, so just be striping. We are going to evaluate the bike boulevard and possible traffic calming implementation measures along with this, utilizing our neighborhood traffic calming index. And then number 6, so we're officially out of our top 5 priority projects, but project number 6 would be the Louisville Valley Road Bike Boulevard from 4th Street East to 7th Street East. As everyone knows, the bike path ends at 4th Street East. So this would be a bike boulevard from 4th Street East to 7th Street East. This is also in our adopted active transportation plan as a tier 1 project. This is also for a planning allocation request, as this will require coordination amongst various agencies. Estimated project cost about $6 million. Grant request would be for about $450,000. This is a picture of where that is. And this little snippet is from our active transportation plan, and it details a bike boulevard with traffic calming. It doesn't exactly tell you where, but that the recommendation is to have more than just striping. And then project 7 is our ADA ramps. And then I should note, through our GHD technical assistance consultant, because that was an option that was available, administered through the Sonoma County Transit and Climate Authorities, to offer technical assistance to applicants, which would be, the City of Sonoma, City of Santa Rosa, etc. They did offer some technical assistance, which we jumped on, and so we are getting some assistance. The recommendation was to include the ADA ramps with all of the projects. So for the road rehabilitation projects at First Street West, Andrix, and Verano, and 7th Street, all include, and Newcomb, all include ADA ramps as well. Not driveways, just ramps. But any feedback you guys have?
All right. I know that I have a question, but anybody from the committee have comments, questions? I'll lead off with one. This is kind of a specific question, oddly specific, that I've run into as a homeowner. For the 4th project, the citywide sidewalk gap closure, it looked like, if I was looking at that map correctly, there were a lot all over the place. Because I've run into this on both sides, where does the city come in to fix all this, and when does the homeowner come in? I'm trying to, because I mean, I know it's more of a budget question, but I'm just trying to clear up the criteria, because I had to do it on my street.
The way the city would address sidewalk gaps are 2 ways. So one would be through a capital improvement project, like through a planning document that we have here through the active transportation plan that has a list of recommendations, and then that would be a city budgetary thing. The second option would be, say for example, you decided to renovate your home and your total renovations exceeded, I think the total dollar amount is $250,000. Then you would be asked if you didn't have any sidewalk and you were not a rural road, right? You would be asked to put in full curb, gutter, and sidewalk as part of your public improvements. And so that's kind of how that gets addressed.
And just to clarify, when we're talking about sidewalk gaps, we're talking about where sidewalks don't exist. We're not talking about the repair of a sidewalk.
That is correct. Yeah. So the repair of this, the repair of the sidewalk per the city municipal code is if it's on frontage, is on the homeowner. It is the homeowner's responsibility to fix any trip and falls.
I asked because I know on my street a couple years ago the city came out, and because the sidewalk was a little uneven, and the city was grinding down to make it level, but then we were also told that
we do that as well. So it's not solely the homeowner's responsibility. The city does go out and grind. Like when I first started, we had a project through PCC, which is our contractor, to go through and grind trip and falls. So it's you're walking through the plaza and you see a piece of sidewalk that looks shaved. That is a city contractor going through and grinding all of that stuff down. However, we can't address all of it, and so when, for example, a claim comes in, or someone says, hey, I tripped and fell because you have the sidewalk displacement, or just bringing a sidewalk displacement to our attention, city staff will go out, mitigate that, whether that's through a traffic cone or putting a cold mix out to kind of even out that trip and fall, and then follow up with the homeowner and ask that they repair it. There is also, if you contact city staff and you're doing your sidewalk their sidewalk work, you may be eligible for up to $1,000 in reimbursement as well.
Thank you for clarifying. Other than that, I don't have anything. Anybody else from the committee? Is there any public comment regarding the priority projects for the SCTCA? Seeing none, bring it back to the committee. I'm guessing there would be no discussion. And in that case, where are we? Just close the item, right?
If you guys don't have any feedback or
Yeah.
anything you'd like us to incorporate, then, you know, we could just throw in the grant applications that you guys heard about it and you guys are for it, and then that kind of checks our box.
All for it.
Yeah, unless we need something
Looks good.
formal, I think we're all for it.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Great job.
All right, so we'll close out that item. We'll move on to the next one. Yeah, just actually whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
No worry.
So I believe the next item is our capital projects update, which Kathy is gonna bring up here in a second. No worries. So we're having some technical difficulties with the monitor, so I'm just gonna, if you guys have the staff report in front of you, I'm just gonna go over that. So part of this is to provide a capital projects update. The city recently adopted the 25-26 fiscal year budget, and part of this is adopting the capital improvements program budget. So the CIP is a 5-year program for capital projects, but it is adopted annually. And this included the adoption of new transportation project for West Main Street rehabilitation, and then adopting carry forward budgets for the street treatment work at Friar Pickett and Nash, which is part of CIPT 5. The citywide bicycle and pedestrian improvements projects, which is CIPT 6, and the sidewalk repair and replacements project, CIPT 4, as well as the design for a biannual slurry seal, which is CIPT 3. So this is an update of all the projects that staff is currently working on. So the first one, CIPT 11, West Main Street Rehabilitation Project. This project was new and adopted as part of the 25-26 budget process. We've received 90% design from GHD Inc., which is our city contract city engineer and traffic engineer. So the next steps for this include finalizing design and putting the project out to bid. Construction is estimated for fall 2025 to be finished before the rainy season. Striping details were added to the scope to provide edge line striping on West Main Street per our city traffic engineer's recommendations received during the West Main Street Traffic Hazard Reporting Forum review at the May 6, 2025 traffic safety meeting. Then CIPT 5 is ongoing pavement rehabilitation project. The current scope of this work is focused on Friar Creek Drive, Pickett, and Nash Streets in the Friar Creek subdivision. City staff work with an on-call geotechnical engineering firm to obtain corings on these roadway sections to determine what kind of treatment would be beneficial. After reviewing with the consultant, staff decided to pursue a 2.5 inch grind and overlay on Pickett and Nash Streets with a 3.5 inch grind and overlay on Friar Creek Drive. And the difference is attributed to the differing traffic indices, which is part of the city standards. The next step would be working with the city engineer to develop project specifications for bidding, and construction is estimated for fall 25 or spring of 26. The next one we have is CIPT 6, our citywide bicycle and pedestrian improvements project. This is also a project that we received grant funding for through the Sonoma County Transit and Climate Authority's SCTCA Cycle 1 programming. We're currently approaching the 90% design mark. However, the design did include the installation of a multi-use path at the back of Sasserini Elementary School. Staff will be pursuing a grant amendment to remove the multi-use path from the project scope based on feedback received. With the removal of the path, which was the most expensive element of the project, funding will be available to incorporate more ADA improvements at bicycle crossings. These are bicycle crossings that were previously in the scope but had to be reduced because the project was over budget by about $1 million with everything that was in there. Several of these crossings, okay, well, I just addressed that. And then we'll be working with SCTCA regarding what the final scope of work for the project will be. CIPT 4 is a sidewalk repair and replacements project. We're working on addressing ramps at bike path crossings on Friar Creek Drive. This will make the crossings ADA compliant. The work will be addressed prior to the road work in the neighborhood. This is being done by the city's concrete on-call contract. This is regarding a little bike path that runs at the back of Katy Carter Park that you cross Friar Creek Drive and then get on the bike path that runs from the Friar Creek neighborhood all the way out to West MacArthur. So that bike crossing there, those ramps are going to be ADA compliant after this project. CIPT3 is the biannual slurry seal project. Slurry seals are a standard feature of road maintenance. The city recently received a grant through the Pavement Management Technical Assistance Program, which is administered through the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And we will be working with an assigned consultant to design a new set of slurry seal or road maintenance projects to improve the city's pavement condition index. Our current PCI is 66. This is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Oh, sorry, 1 to 100, my bad. This work is estimated to be completed in May of 2026, and the end product will be a recommendation for a new set of slurry seal projects that will be programmed into the capital improvement program. For reference, we do about one slurry seal project about every 2 years. With our SV1 allocations, that's about as much as we can afford. The adopted 5-year capital improvement program also included Broadway Streetscape project. This project is not currently active, but we are actively applying for grant funding for this project, as you just saw. So these projects have been adopted with the 25-26 budget and adopted in June of 2025. We had a study session on May 22nd, 2025. At this time, these projects do not require additional funding above what has currently been allocated. Currently.
That's great. Great. Just one clarification, the Spain Street, that's from the plaza to 5th?
No. That project is the West Main Street Rehabilitation Project, addresses the segment from the plaza up to 3rd Street West, and then a section right around Unibro Sarah up to Highway 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Great.
With varying treatments depending on what the road needs.
All right. Thank you very much. Does the committee, I started off with the questions. Does the committee have any questions about the capital improvement
Yeah, just curious, the multi-use path behind Sasserini, what were the concerns with it and why it was removed?
The functionality of the path was questioned, and it doesn't coincide with what was in the ATP, which was a path, the rendering of the path, and we can't pull that up. The rendering of the path wasn't a dead end. And as the path went into Sasserini School, on our project, it was a dead end. And in the ATP, it shows an active transportation plan, which is a multi-year document that we pull CIP projects out of. As you probably already know, it showed the path hooking around, and the implication was there that it connected with another path to the north. And that's not what the Safe Routes to School path was presented as. It was presented as, for this project, a safe route to Sasserini School that dead ended in Sasserini School, on Sasserini School grounds. And that's what we incorporated into the project. But when you look at the ATP, there's a determination, if you just look at the drawing, that it goes through. And so there was enough public opinion, I'll say, that basically it seemed like at this time, this project was not going to be able to go through, and it was jeopardizing the entire project. And so what we chose to do was pull it out, and it's not that we're shelving it and we're saying this is never going to happen. Beg pardon?
I'm sorry. It's still in the active transportation plan.
Yep,
So, yeah.
still in the ATP. We have a 90% design for it. It was the toughest, 90 or 60?
Approaching 90.
Yeah, we're real close to 90. It was the hardest aspect of the job. We had a lot of the resources for the project were dedicated to it. And so, but rather than jeopardize the project, we decided we're just going to pull it out and get the rest of the job done. And so that's what we're in the process of doing right now, is working with SCTCA on a major amendment, and we're going to push that through.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? And now for this item, I will now open up to public comment on the capital improvement program. And not seeing any public comment, I'm going to send it back to the committee, and I'm guessing there won't be anything to discuss, in which case we'll then close that item. Okay. Now, finally, is there anything else outstanding from the committee? Any reports or comments from anybody? All right, and then anything else from Public Works that we need to know about? Police department, anything else to add? If that, oh, go ahead. I was checking with PD had something. If you have something else.
We have a few staff comments we just wanted to go over.
Oh, great.
So our traffic calming handbook, or neighborhood traffic calming plan, is live on the website, and we also made our traffic hazard reporting form online as well. So you still, of course, have the option of printing out your traffic hazard reporting form and bringing it to City Hall, or you can use the new feature and submit it, and it goes right to Cathy's inbox. So, well, the Public Works email.
Lucky you.
No. So we're very excited about that. As you guys know, that's been over a year that we've been working on it together as a team. And so we're really excited that that document is finally live. We're very excited to use it. Additionally, back at some point in 2024, staff applied for a Safe Track grant through UC Berkeley to analyze our city streets that were kind of identified as possible problem areas. And so we got that draft report received. It's a 100-page document, so I did not add it to this agenda. But however, it is available for viewing if you guys are interested. Major focus areas were 5th Street West, let's see, MacArthur, and a couple other ones. We identified about Napa, West Napa. Yeah, West Napa. So it identified a few problem areas, and so if anyone wants to see it, we can send it out if you're interested. And so we're just reviewing that. The final is supposed to come sometime in September because they operate on the federal fiscal year. And then the other thing that we had was the possibility of creating a work plan for traffic safety. I didn't include this as an agenda item, just kind of left it up to you guys, but something you guys wanted to agendize for future meetings. It's totally optional. This would be basically coming up with a list of things that TSC is interested in addressing outside of traffic hazard reporting forms. Kind of similar to the permit parking ad hoc or the traffic calming ad hoc, just a list of projects you guys are interested in working on. So if that interests you, let us know and we'll put together an agenda item and get you guys to, work on create an ad hoc to create a formal work plan. And then I think Mike might have one more.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to give another update that the, as you probably already know, the General Plan 2045 project is underway. The GP Task Force met on Monday, July 14th at 5:30 in the Emergency Operations Center, and they met again tonight on August 4th at 5:30 to go over the general plan. And one of the things that might interest you the most is the circulation element, which came up tonight, which covers traffic, pedestrian, bicycle flow, etc. And so there's a website that's dedicated, a portion of the website dedicated solely to the general plan update. If you have any interest in that, by all means, send us an email if you're having trouble getting information, but take a look on the website because there's a lot of time and energy being dedicated to getting the public's input on the general plan update. Primarily what the portion we would be focused on is the circulation element. So if you have any questions on that or you want to get any more information, feel free to contact us.
And I'd like to remind you guys that the next meeting is Monday, November 3rd, so it's another Monday meeting. It's because the Tuesday is election day, and so we don't have a problem with that again. Just put it on your calendars, please.
All right, we will. Thank you, and thank you, Public Works, for all the great work that's being done. I think that's it for us, and with that, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.